Patty Poblete comes here every week to sit with her son.
Love is following your heart, not your fears.
She comes to remember the young man who died too soon. His headstone, a tribute to her 23-year-old's passions and dreams.
And then it shows his love of surfing and the water.
Robbie Poblete lost his life almost 3 years ago.
It was September 21st, 2014.
That day had been busy for his mother, but she'd been hoping to see him that night.
So I messaged him and I said, your car payment is here. I'm cooking dinner. Come pick up food before you go to work. And he said, yes, I'll be there. And then an hour later, we got the call that he was shot.
Poblete was shot multiple times and died at the scene. Police believe it was a robbery.
There is no bracing yourself for letting your child go from life, you know, and knowing that they're never going to come home again. There's just so, when I got that call, I can't even explain it. It's just total darkness.
Robbie died in Vallejo, in the city where he grew up, the city where his mother had built their lives.
I went to school there, raised my children there. I've really seen it from the highs to the lows, but for me, Vallejo was always home.
She doesn't live there anymore, and for 2 years, she refused to go back.
So for months after, I would say I was in shock, as anyone would be. So I really was holed up in my home for, I'd say, a year and a half. I couldn't even imagine going down that stretch of highway again because it was so traumatic.
But through the dark, Poblete says she began to search for the light and for peace.
You have to find purpose through pain.
A journalist by trade, she turned to writing, first with letters to Robbie.
But it became so hard because I knew that I would never get a response.
And then she started writing a book.
I wrote several chapters of my book back here.
Her book led her to form the Robbie Poblete Foundation. His foundation seeks change on several levels. When Robbie died, he was working as a welder at Genentech. It was part of a bright future for him. So his foundation is about providing that opportunity to others, maybe even to the people accused of taking his life.
I would not want them taking another mother's child away. And so yes, if we have a program that could help the very people who did this to my son, I'm for that. Because what's the alternative? I don't accept that. So the vocational program offers opportunities for youth and ex-offenders, youth coming from juvenile hall, foster youth that are about to age out.
But it doesn't stop there. Patty says at its core, the mission of Robbie's foundation is about change.
The weapon that was used to kill Robbie was illegally obtained, you know, and I know that after they shot and killed my son, according to one of the suspects, they went and sold that on the streets again, and it was used for another crime. My hope is that this foundation, you know, we get as many unwanted firearms out of circulation as possible.
But for the foundation to make change on that level, she needed more help. From law enforcement, the schools, the mayor, and artists. And so she reached out, and the first meeting for a project called Art of Peace had an overwhelming turnout.
Each and every single person I invited came, and that was my first drive to Vallejo. I wasn't driving toward trauma anymore, I was driving toward hope.
Listening to her story broke my heart. Seriously, broke my heart. And of course I became immediately supportive of her efforts. She wants this positive change because it's with that change is what reinvents our entire community.
Last week, the project took its first step with the gun buyback in Vallejo, the first in 4 years. The Robbie Poblete Foundation helped provide the funds for the gift cards that were given out. A big hurdle for police who say resources for gun buybacks have been hard to come by.
That aside from some of the, manpower issues because, our department still isn't up to full staffing.
But the guns collected won't be destroyed. Instead, they are going to be given to artists.
Right now, we're basically acting as members of the art community to help bring the art community together on this.
Art is about perception and challenging the way we see what's in front of us.
I can't even tell that this is a gun. Isn't this amazing what this has been made out of?
So this project will turn those guns into art, and the hope is that art will be on display in the city soon. Obtainium Works in Vallejo showed us how shell casings and gun barrels can be transformed into something beautiful.
I'm working on taking gun barrels and forging them into feathers for the phoenix. That the end project is a grand heroic statue of the phoenix rising from the ashes.
It is a project that has inspired ideas from artists around the world who want to be involved, some dealing with their own pain and loss.
His family fled Iran because of the violence in the country.
It is a mission that is just beginning, a project just now taking shape. But today, Patty Pabletti, while still in pain, can sit in her garden and know she also now has purpose.
So the garden is something I started after Robbie passed. There were maybe 3-4 pots, and then I just kept planting. And this has really given me a lot of peace and serenity, and I think Robbie would love it.
Be the change. That's the Foundation's mantra. And every week when Patty comes here to be with her son and to honor his memory, she repeats the words that Robbie himself once quoted to a friend.
You will be freed from all the things that imprison you, even fear, because love conquers all. They really guided me, but I chose to follow my heart, not my fears, as he instructed his friend to do, and that's really why this foundation exists today.